Hi, I'm Jess Keating, and you are watching Animalogic Second Nature.
Hi there. Well, what you doing away back there? Come on up here. Ah, that's better. I'm glad you dropped by. I've got a little story I think you'll like.
A species' survival is entirely dependent on its ability to exploit and compete for the resources in their ecosystem. But sometimes those ecosystems change, and animals that have excelled with one strategy for thousands of years all of a sudden need to adapt. This can mean specializing in a new niche, broadening their niche to a more general diet, or pushing into an entirely different territory. Over time, this can lead to the creation of a new species. Amphibious mammals. Currently, several species of terrestrial mammals are dealing with ecosystem changes that have them turn into a life in the water.
Take this mother hippopotamus and her young son Sebastian, who is just learning to swim and is sticking close to mom.
Here in Canada on Vancouver Island live the sea wolves. These wolves are a population of grey wolf that are beginning to draw a genetic line in the sand, or beach. Unlike interior wolves, who primarily eat elk and deer, these coastal wolves eat seafood. Their diet is made primarily of salmon, but they also eat clams, seals, otters, and marine carrion. These elusive wolves roam the coast in packs of up to 20. They travel great distances in search of food, either by land or sea, and have been recorded swimming 12 kilometers in a single go. They are roughly 20% smaller than interior grey wolves, and DNA testing has found that they are actually genetically distinct from their mainland cousins. When hunting salmon, they hunt much like grizzly bears. They stand in the shallows where the salmon are spawning and catch them as they jump out of the water. These wolves were driven to the coasts and islands as their original territory was logged, leaving much less room for prey and predators to survive. Yet, while life on the coast isn't what grey wolves have excelled at historically, they have found some advantages. Hunting small prey like salmon is a lot safer than hunting their traditional diet of large ungulates, which could injure a wolf during the hunt. If interior wolves wanted to hunt salmon, they'd be competing with grizzly bears, who take to the islands in much smaller numbers, if at all.
Then one of the great epic struggles of nature begins. Day after day, week after week.
Grizzly bears are amphibious mammals, but they don't swim all that often. They primarily hang out in the shallows, waiting for salmon. Polar bears, on the other hand, are much more aquatic. Their habitat is made up of ice, and as that ice melts, they must take to the seas far more often. They have huge paws, designed for pushing their aerodynamic bodies through the water. They spend the majority of their time in the water traveling, preferring to ambush seals at seal holes rather than diving for them. Though, they will use the water as a means to approach unsuspecting prey stealthily. But they're not alone. Jaguars too use the water to silently approach their prey before striking. Living in such vast, diverse, and changing ecosystems, jaguars have become much more generalist in their diet than other big cats. They are fantastic swimmers and will dive into the water to hunt turtles, fish, capybaras, and caiman. In the Sundarbans, in the mangrove forest, tigers often take to the water to cross from island to island in search of prey. While tigers are less amphibious than jaguars, if their prey tries to escape them in the water, they will dive in pursuit. Though in the East, the cat that reigns supreme among amphibious mammals is the aptly named fishing cat. These rare felines are found in the Bay of Bengal, with most of them living in the mangrove forests and swamps of the Sundarbans. These cats are right at home in the water. They are excellent swimmers and hunt their aquatic prey either by fishing it out from the surface with their big paws or by diving in to get it. These bulky-looking cats might not look like amazing swimmers, but they have a few adaptations that give them an edge. Their paws are partially webbed. This helps propel them through the water as well as giving them more surface area to walk on when strolling through the muddy wetlands, stopping them from sinking in. They also have thick layers of fur perfectly adapted for life in the water. The bottom layer is short and dense. This keeps the fishing cat's skin dry and warm while swimming. The top layer is longer, and this is where they get their pattern. This is used for camouflage.
It looks like revenge, but the cat will be all right, a little wiser and cleaner.
Fishing cats took to the water for survival. There was far too much competition on land from similar predators, but now they face the opposite problem. As humans are pushing further and further into their territory, the wetlands are beginning to disappear, and the fishing cat will be left to either adapt or die. While the kingfisher might hold the title for the most graceful diver, perhaps the cutest diver is the ridiculously adorable water shrew. These shrews are the smallest warm-blooded diving species in the world. They're about the size of your thumb. They are primarily insectivorous and have found a lot of success hunting larvae in the water. They can dive for up to 45 seconds. Not the longest dive in the world, but it's long enough for them to catch their prey. When they dive, their fur fills up with bubbles, and when they stop swimming, the bubbles push the shrew straight up to the surface, like an adorable little life jacket. These bubbles also give the shrews a layer of insulation, reducing heat loss underwater by about 50%. This is especially helpful for the North American species which dive in cold water for most of the year. Though, the North American species have another adaptation for staying warm during their cold dives. They can control their metabolic demands, creating more body heat on command. There are even some reports of water shrews that are able to walk on water.
You gotta get this, Eric. This is like pretty significant now.
Their feet are covered in little fringes of hair that may help trap air bubbles like their fur, allowing them to not break surface tension. This could be helpful when escaping predators, or possibly when hunting prey as it emerges from the water. Unlike all the other animals we've talked about who have changed their behavior to take advantage of a new or different ecological niche, the swimming pigs of the Bahamas started swimming after the discovery of an entirely different niche: tourists. The pigs of Big Major K have discovered that if they're really cute, humans will feed them. And as it turns out, swimming pigs are in fact pretty damn cute. We're not entirely certain how the pigs got to the island in the first place. They may have been brought there by people hoping to settle. They may have swam to shore after a boat capsized, or they may have been brought as tourist traps. Whatever the reason, they are certainly making the best of it. There isn't a lot of food for them to eat on the island, so their diet relies entirely on what people bring them, hence the cuteness. But this isn't a habitat that they chose to push into. Instead, they're making do in a habitat where they're not meant to be. Recently, 10 pigs were found dead on the island. This was in part due to people giving them alcohol. But autopsies revealed that it was primarily from ingesting large quantities of sand. Tourists would throw their food on the beach, which the pigs would then swallow whole, sand and all. This small island leaves them little room to adapt. A couple of dry months can easily decimate their populations, forcing them to eat and drink things that they shouldn't. This is not the first time that mammals have sought new niches in the water. The ancestors of whales and dolphins turned to the sea for food and slowly transitioned from terrestrial to amphibian to fully aquatic. Will these more recent changes in behavior lead to a more permanent split? With the world changing as rapidly as it is, it's anyone's guess. So what should we talk about next? Please let us know in the comments and be sure to subscribe for new episodes of Animalogic Second Nature every other week. Thank you so much for watching.